White just played. On c4, pause the video and try to find black's next move. White might go for pawn takes b5 and seize the initiative. Pawn takes c4 move preferred by black. Pawn takes c4. King g4. Black is looking to play. King f4. Pawn a3. King e4. Pawn c5. King d5. King e3. King takes c5 and gain a significant edge. King e3 move preferred by white. King f5. King d4. King e6. King c5. Pawn g5. King d4. King d6. Black is setting up to play. Pawn a4. King e4. King c5. King f5. King takes c4. King takes g5. King b4. King f4. King a3 and gain a significant edge. King c3 was chosen by white. King c5. King d3. On g4. Black might go for pawn a4. King e4. King takes c4 and take decisive advantage. King e3 was chosen by white. King takes c4. King f4. King b4. King takes g4. King a3. King f3. King takes a2. King e2. Black is dominating the board. Let's go to the next game. White made a move. On g4, pause the video to spot black's next move. On h5. Black is setting up to play pawn takes g4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn c5 was chosen by white. On b5. Black is preparing to play pawn takes g4 and dominate the board. Pawn takes h5 move preferred by white. King f5. King g2. King takes f4. King f2. King g4. Black intends to play king takes h4 and dominate the board. Pawn h6 played by white. White wants to play pawn takes g7 and establish a winning position. Pawn takes h6 played by black. King e3. King takes h4. King d4. Pawn h5. King e5. King g5. King d6. Pawn h4. King takes c6. Pawn h3. King takes b5. Pawn h2. Pawn c4. Pawn promotes to queen at h1. Black is preparing to play. Queen b7 check. King a4. King f4. King a3. King e3 and take decisive advantage. Pawn c6. Black has a strong upper hand. Let's go to the next game. White played. King e2. Pause the video to find out black's response. On e4. King d2. King c5. Black is planning to play. On d4. On g4. Pawn takes g4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn g4 was chosen by white. Pawn takes g4. King e1. On d4. Pawn takes d4 check. King takes d4. King f1. On e3. Black might go for King e4. On f5. King takes f5 and gain a significant edge. Pawn f5 was chosen by white. King e5. King e2. King takes f5. King takes e3. On g3. Black is setting up to play. King g4. King e2. King h3. King f3. Pawn g2. King f2. King h2. King e3. King g3 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King f3 move preferred by white. On g2. Black wants to play, pawn promotes to queen at g1, and put immense pressure on the opponent. King takes g to move preferred by white. King e4. Black intends to play. King d4. King f3. King c3. King f4. King takes b3, and secure a strong hold in the game. King g3 move preferred by white. King d3. King f4. King c3. King g5. King takes b3. King f4. King takes a4. King e3. White's loss is confirmed. Let's go to the next game. White just played. On f6. Pause the video to figure out black's next move. King e6. Black is setting up to play. King takes f6 and establish a winning position. King takes g5 was chosen by white. King f7. King f4. White is setting up to play. King e4. Pawn c4. Pawn takes c4. King takes f6. King d3. King g5. Pawn c5 and seize the initiative. Pawn c4 was chosen by black. Black intends to play, pawn takes b3, and secure a strong hold in the game. King e3 played by white. Pawn c3. King d3. King takes f6. King e2. King g5. Black wants to play. King h4. King d3. King takes h3, and increase their advantage significantly. King d3 move preferred by white. King h4. King c2. King takes h3. King d3. King g4. King c2. King f5. King d3. King f4. King c4. King e4. King b5. King d4. King b6. Pawn c2. King c6. Pawn promotes to queen at c1 check. King d6. White is on the verge of defeat. Let's go to the next game. Black played. Pawn b5. Pause the video to figure out white's next move. Black is setting up to play, pawn takes a 4, and secure a strong hold in the game. Pawn takes b5 was chosen by white. Pawn takes b5. On the 5. White might go for King d4. Pawn g4. King c5. King e5. King b6. King d5. King takes a 6. King c4. King b6, and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn g4 was chosen by black. King f4. King f6. King takes g4. King e6. Pawn f4. King f7. Pawn f5. King f6. King f4. King e7. King e5. King f7. Pawn f6. White intends to play. King f5. King f8. King f4. King e8. King e4. King f7. King e5, and dominate the board. King f8 played by black. King e6. White's idea is to play. On f7. King g7. King e7. King h6. Pawn promotes to queen at f8 check, and gain a significant edge. King e8 move preferred by black. King d5. White is setting up to play. King e6. King f8. Pawn f7. King g7. King e7. King g6. Pawn promotes to queen at f8, and increase their advantage significantly. King d7 move preferred by black. King e5. White is aiming to play. King f5. King d6. King g6. King d5. On f7. King c4. Pawn promotes to queen at f8 and increase their advantage significantly. King d8 move preferred by black. King d6. White's idea is to play on f7, king c8, king c6, king b8. Pawn promotes to queen at f8 check. King a7, queen e7 check. King b8, queen b7 mate and gain a significant edge. King e8 move preferred by black. King e6, king f8, on f7, king g7, king e7, king g6. Pawn promotes to queen at f8. King g5. White is dominating the board. Let's go to the next game. Black played on b5. Pause the video to figure out white's next move. Pawn takes b5 check. Pawn takes b5. On the 5. White might go for pawn a6, king c7, pawn e6, pawn c4, pawn e7, king d7, pawn a7, king takes e7. Pawn promotes to queen at 8 and establish a winning position. Pawn b4 played by black. Pawn a6. White's idea is to play pawn a7, pawn c4. Pawn promotes to queen at 8 check and take decisive advantage. Pawn b3 was chosen by black. Black is preparing to play pawn b2, pawn a7, king b7. Pawn promotes to queen at a8 check. King takes a8 and take decisive advantage. King d2 move preferred by white. White is preparing to play pawn e6, king d6, pawn a7, pawn c4, king c3 and take decisive advantage. King b6 move preferred by black. Pawn e6. White is aiming to play pawn e7, pawn c4, king c3, king takes a6. Pawn promotes to queen at e8 and secure a stronghold in the game. King c7 was chosen by black. King c3, king d6, king takes b3, pawn c4 check. King takes c4, king takes e6, king d4. White is looking to play pawn a7, king d6. Pawn promotes to queen at 8 and dominate the board. King f6 move preferred by black. King e4. White is looking to play king f4, king e6, pawn a7, king d5. Pawn promotes to queen at a8 check. King d6, queen e4 and secure a stronghold in the game. King g5 was chosen by black. King f3. White might go for pawn a7, king f6, king f4 and gain a significant edge. King h6 move preferred by black. King f4, king g7, pawn g5, king f8, king e5. White's idea is to play king f6, king e8, pawn a7, king d7. Pawn promotes to queen at a8 and secure a stronghold in the game. King e7 was chosen by black. Pawn a7. White considers playing. Pawn promotes to queen at a8. King f7. Queen b7 check. King g8. King f6. King h8. Queen g7 mate and take decisive advantage. King d7 played by black. King f6. King c7. Pawn promotes to queen at a8. King d6. White is dominating the board. Let's go to the next game. White just played On b3, pause the video and try to predict black's next move. Pawn takes c4. Pawn takes c4. King b6. King d3. King a5. Black is looking to play. King b4. King e2. King takes c4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King c3 played by white. King a4. Black is aiming to play. King a3. King d3. Pawn g6. King c3. King takes a2. King c2. King a3 and take decisive advantage. King c2 move preferred by white. King b4. Black wants to play king takes c4 and dominate the board. King d3 played by white. On h5. Black is setting up to play. Pawn g6. King d2. King takes c4 and seize the initiative. King c2 was chosen by white. King takes c4. On g3. On the 5. King d2. King d4. Black considers playing. On h4. On g4. On g5. On takes g5. King takes e5 and gain a significant edge. On a4 was chosen by white. On c4. Black is aiming to play. On c3 check. King c2. King c4. King b1. King d3. King c1. On c2. On h3. On g6 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On h3 was chosen by white. On g6. King c2. On c3. Black intends to play. King c4. King d1. King d3. On g4. On h4 and secure a stronghold in the game. King d1 was chosen by white. King d3. King c1. On c2. On g4. King e4. Black considers playing. On takes g4. On takes g4. King takes f4. King takes c2. King takes g4 and take decisive advantage. On g5 played by white. King takes f4. King takes c2. King takes g5. King d3. White has no response. Let's go to the next game. Black played. King e6. Pause the video to figure out white's next move. King g5. King f7. King h6. White might go for king takes h7 and dominate the board. King g8 played by black. On a4. King h8. On h4. King g8. On g4. King h8. King g5. King g7. King f4. King h6. King e5. White is aiming to play. King f6. On g5. On takes g5 mate and put immense pressure on the opponent. King g7 move preferred by black. On g5. White's idea is to play. King d5. King f8. King c6. King f7. King b6. King e6. King takes a5 and establish a winning position. King f7 move preferred by black. King d6. White's idea is to play. King c6. King e6. King b6. King f5. King takes a5 and seize the initiative. On h6 played by black. King d7. White is planning to play. King d6. King f8. King c7. On takes g5. On takes g5. King e7. King b6. King e6. King takes a5 and take decisive advantage. Pawn takes g5 was chosen by black. Pawn takes g5. King f8. King c7. King f7. King b6. King e6. King takes a5. King f5. King b4. King takes g5. On the 5. White is planning to play King c4. King f4. King d3. King f5. On a 6. King f4. King d4. King f5. King e3, and secure a stronghold in the game. King f4 played by black. King c3. King e4. On a 6. White intends to play King d2. King f3. On a 7. King g4. King e3. King g5. King e4, and take decisive advantage. King e3 played by black. On a 7. On g5. Pawn promotes to queen at a 8. White might go for Queen a4. King f3. King d3. On g4. Queen c6 check, and secure a stronghold in the game. King f4. Black is on the verge of defeat. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. King takes b5. Pause the video and try to predict white's next move. King takes h7. On the 5. On h5. On a4. On takes g6. On a3. On g7. On a2. On promotes to queen at g8. White is aiming to play Queen takes a2 and seize the initiative. Pawn promotes to queen at a 1 played by black. Queen d5 check. King b4. On g6. White might go for Queen e4 check. King b3. On g7. Queen a7. Queen e6 check. King a3. King h6. Queen b8. Pawn promotes to queen at g8 and secure a stronghold in the game. Queen e1 played by black. On g7. Queen h4 check. King g6. Queen g4 check. King f6. Queen h4 check. Queen g5. Queen f2 check. King g6. Queen c2 check. Queen f5. Queen g2 check. King f7. Queen b7 check. King f6. Queen b6 check. King g5. Queen d8 check. King g6. Queen d6 check. King h5. Queen h2 check. King g5. White is aiming to play Queen f4 check. Queen takes f4 check. King takes f4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Queen a2 was chosen by black. Queen f8 check. King b5. Pawn promotes to queen at g8. Queen g2 check. Black is on the verge of defeat. Let's go to the next game. Black played King b7. Pause the video and try to find white's next move. On f5. White is aiming to play pawn takes e6 and take decisive advantage. Pawn takes f5 played by black. Pawn takes f5. King a6. King f3. King b5. King e4. White is planning to play pawn g4. Pawn h6. King takes e5. King takes c5. Pawn h4. King b4. Pawn g5. Pawn takes g5. Pawn takes g5 and establish a winning position. King takes c5 move preferred by black. King takes e5. King b6. Pawn g4. King c7. King e6. Pawn c5. Black is looking to play pawn c4. King f7. On c3. King takes g7. On c2. King takes h7. Pawn promotes to queen at c1. King g6. King d6, and secure a stronghold in the game. King d5 was chosen by white. White intends to play king takes c5 and dominate the board. Pawn c4 played by black. Black is setting up to play. Pawn c3. Pawn g5. Pawn c2. Pawn h4. Pawn promotes to queen at c1. Pawn f6. Pawn takes f6 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King takes c4 move preferred by white. King d6. King d4. White is planning to play. Pawn g5. King e7. Pawn a4. Pawn a5. King c5. King e8. King b6 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn g6 move preferred by black. Pawn takes g6. Pawn takes g6. Pawn h4. King e6. King e4. King d6. King f4. King e7. King g5. White is setting up to play king takes g6 and gain a significant edge. King f7 move preferred by black. King h6. White considers playing. Pawn g5. King e6. King takes g6 and take decisive advantage. King f6 was chosen by black. Pawn a4. White is preparing to play. Pawn a5. King f7. Pawn g5. King e8. King takes g6 and establish a winning position. Pawn a5 played by black. Pawn g5 check. King f5. King g7. King g4. King takes g6. King takes h4. King f6. King g3. Pawn g6. King f4. Pawn g7. King e4. Pawn promotes to queen at g8. White intends to play. Queen d8. King f4. Queen takes a5 and take decisive advantage. King d4. Black is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game.